Not too bad. How about you?
I am doing all right. Just was super busy. So, a lot of stuff is happening and, it's really exciting. And each day, I know you just sent over that message that all of our agents got upgraded with the new version of Claude. So exciting stuff. Things are moving pretty fast here.
Yeah, it looks like it's like a 5% gain, which sounds like it's small, but it's the same thing as asking, well, what does a billionaire spend 5% of their, interest income on? It's probably a lot of money. It's like it's the same thing. These things are so productive. When you're going 10,000% faster, the 5% gain is still very significant. The percentages hide, this huge net gain that they constantly go through. So pretty sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I haven't really
So I've
played
got
with
a
with the new model yet, so I don't know if it's better. I don't have any feedback. I still use
I think yeah, I think the one thing that I noticed right off the bat is you can basically throttle the thinking levels,
okay.
so it has a broader amount of them, so you can go, light, heavy. I forgot what the options are. I have to go back in here and remind myself. But the one that was significant, oh, and here we go. It's called effort. So effort can start with low, medium, high, which is the default, extra, and then max. And then max has what appears to be like a little information sign. And if you hover over the max, it says, this may use excessive tokens, resulting in long response times and may hit token limits. Use sparingly for the hardest tasks.
Okay.
Um, so that's basically it. And then there's a checkbox, either yes or no, for adaptive thinking. So it has like a lot of options on there.
Yeah.
um, I'm checking to see when that, like for a lot of people that just use Copilot, Copilot has the option of choosing the models, and you can choose Claude. It doesn't say which model of Claude. I think it's just the Opus on there, but I don't think it has in the drop down these variations of the level of effort in there. So that's some good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a couple, kind of two things. One is, there's that news about Claude. And the other one is, yes, we've been using Claude Code quite a bit for our development work, et cetera. And then I was showcasing on our last call, me using it even for my own son, to help with educational, scholarships and stuff like that. Um, so I have an update on that, but I also have some more news on just the, you know, kind of like these systems that help, you know, do stuff. So I'm going to switch to my Anchor news camera version here, so you can zoom in and see this.
There you go. It's
You
always
know,
such a shock when you do that.
we've got something important, some late breaking news here. No, so
I'm going to get you a news scroller at the bottom there for you
I
eventually.
do need a big mustache or something. I should put it like. And I do have a suit jacket. I could put that on. Anyway, yeah. So then the big stuff is, so we know about Claude Code. A lot of people have heard about the Claw, Open Claw,
Yep.
that one. So there's another one on here. So this is a new breakthrough. It's a system. It's called a closed learning loop, and it's a system called Hermes. And it's not
Yes.
just basically a chat bot. You've heard a little bit about this,
Yep.
or coding copilot. It's essentially designed as a persistent, self-improving operating system, and its primary apparently differentiator is its autonomous memory and skill generation. So
Yep.
when Hermes completes a complex user step task, it doesn't just forget it. It autonomously writes reusable skilled documents, which sometimes we have to tell the Claude system, hey, update this, do that. Don't do that again. Make sure you don't forget about it. You're kind of hand holding it. Well, this one
builds its own skill document using an open standard of the markdown for everything, like everything else does. And it details its approach, edge cases, the domain knowledge required. It saves this into persistent memory bank, and it has a full text search capability. So then that way, the next time it encounters a similar task, it retrieves that skill document, and then it executes a workflow faster and more accurately for that. This literally writes its own operating manual as it goes through, just like you would as you're going through stuff and you write notes down or you learn from, configuring a different system and et cetera. This key features of this, I guess, foundation update that they just recently made and dropped this month added several enterprise-grade features. So it has a unified messaging gateway.
Okay.
It can run as a centralized server that unifies platforms like Slack, Discord, Telegram, and then things that are called CLI.
Mm-hmm.
You can assign a task via Slack, and just because it says Slack doesn't mean that you can't configure it to do the same thing in Teams. So I bet you if you configure it correctly and do the back end, if a lot of organizations use Teams, you can do the same thing on there. And then it basically does its work, checks its progress. It can be configured to use Telegram on your phone, so you can have almost like a remote interface with it while you're walking and talking out in the real world to if it does have questions it can't answer itself. And then it has autonomous sub-agents. So it can spin up isolated sub-agents with their own dedicated context windows and tools to handle parallel processing tasks without confusing the overall primary agent. And then you can have local hardware optimization. Apparently, NVIDIA just announced super heavy support for this. And the agent is heavily optimized, obviously, to run entirely locally on an NVIDIA hardware. So obviously, NVIDIA is going to be pushing this because guess what? Start selling that hardware, making that money. And then it has built-in cron scheduling. So here's one thing, just to pause on that. So usually in Claude code, we're doing things, and Claude has certain limits that it sets per day and then per week. So a lot of the times what I do is if I know I'm running into usage limits, and depending on the timing, that usage limit might hit at 10:30, I specifically tell it, Claude, run a cron job at 10:35 p.m. if you ran out of usage to kickstart again, get rolling, get moving. And then essentially it's almost like you're manually setting Claude to work by itself overnight, but you have to kind of set these cron jobs up. So apparently this system has all that built in. It's like pish posh.
Wow.
We're already going to figure that out. But if you think about this autonomous nature of all these tools and such, then it's really all about tokenization and usage and et cetera. So all these companies that are essentially feeding into the AI doing these things obviously want the most autonomous systems because then you hit your limits faster. You are more prone to upgrade your subscriptions. And then if you're like a big enterprise client, then you likely might just pay for the API tokenization that has basically used as much as possible. And this gets back into how NVIDIA was talking about, our developers should be cranking through 200,000 tokens a day to be worth any money, basically. So anyway, that's just a big update on, some systems as the AI systems get a little bit closer and closer to kind of running, basically all the time by themselves, et cetera. This is just a few steps in that direction. So anyway, that was the news, for today. And then I probably spoke very, very fast. So Brennan, you have any comments on that?
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that model up because I was looking and I was going over some training and stuff, and there was some use cases for that in stock trading using Herms, and kind of one of the really neat things is that you can load obviously you can't load like a ChatGPT model, but there's a lot of open source models that you can load that are good enough. So you can run them on either a small virtual server, or the Rage now is a Mac Mini. That reminds me, I'm gonna have I want to show you something. Hold on.
Yeah, show it.
Let me see if I can get it out here. Hold on. Yep, there it is. Hold on. This, I'm guessing, I have probably right here an original Mac Mini. If it's coming
Wait
up.
a minute, it went black on me.
But the filter here, hold on, let me get it right here. There we go. It's an original Mac Mini.
No, you're still black.
I'm still black? Oh, man.
Yeah. It doesn't like the Mac Mini. Your Windows computer is not happy.
There we go. Can you see it now?
Yes. Yep. I see it now.
It's an original Mac Mini. It does have USB ports. So, it's still got a serial port right here. This thing, I don't know, the whole rage with Mac Minis, this thing is probably, it's a relic. It's probably worth a couple $1,000s. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But.
Now, what's the reason for the Mac Mini? Like, why is it so compelling that everybody's running out to get a Mac Mini and not just spinning up some virtual machine that they could just run?
I haven't figured out why everybody wants it. I think it's just because it's super good at doing one task, and it's not loaded with a bunch of bloatware.
Oh, yeah, you could just throw it in your closet and let it do its thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's Apple's version of I'm sure you know these ones, but the Raspberry, right? The Raspberry Pis.
Yeah. Yep.
And everybody would go, I have a Raspberry Pi. This was before AI. I have a Raspberry Pi that runs all my house automation and stuff like that. I had a colleague that did that, and he was showing me, just this little computer that was about that size, and he's got it running his lights and the garage door and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, it's so funny that everybody's starting to use a Mac Mini, and it's like, I bought that one. That Mac Mini I just showed is probably 15 years old.
Wow.
And I did turn it on like last year. I turned it on. It runs fine. It runs perfect. It's got it's probably I don't even know what Mac OS it has on it, but it's an old OS. It's probably like equivalent to like a Windows 98, type of thing. So
right.
But I'm curious though, because with the demand, anytime there's demand for stuff like that, the OG stuff, there's somebody out there probably is, will view this, and I'll probably, in my DM, hey, I saw that Mac Mini. I'll give you I'll give you $1,000 for it. All right, if you want it, hit me up.
Right. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I wouldn't even have. I do want to experiment. We've got the Claude Code, and I was thinking to myself, I could spin up a virtual machine and load the other stuff to it. You just have to be very careful to kind of isolate your production, kind of quote unquote production, data and stuff like this, because you don't know if it's going to take it upon itself to rename files. If you tell it to reorganize stuff, I think there's still some trust issues, but I think at least now there should be enough skill files to get it kicked off, and it can learn on to make sure that it's not making like those type of mistakes and such.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think the other piece I had was to do a little check-in. I think on that app that I was working on with Claude Code separately. So I'm gonna do a little show and tell on that to kind of show that off and some new stuff. And then I think last time I just showed a few screenshots, but not necessarily the actual navigation in the actual application. I believe, I don't remember now. It was a week, seems like a long time ago now. So I could show that off, Brennan, and then
Okay.
I think that's what I have for this week. So let me share my screen and make sure I'm at the right area. Okay, cool. let me do this. Let's press H, okay. And we'll say entire screen, and let me make sure my Teams is on mute so I don't get some emergency DM. And do that, and I think this is it. Here we go. Entire screen right here. Cool. Do you see that? Is it coming in for you?
Let's see. Yeah, hold on. Still there. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let me turn that on. For some reason, it doesn't automatic. There. Yep. Now it's up.
Okay, cool. All right. This could be on do not disturb my phone. All right, cool. So what I was, I think last time showing you, and this was like on the back end, you were looking at probably a terminal window that looked like this, you know, where I was working on with Claude Code, different stuff. Over here, this is kind of the end result where it's still in the testing phase. So a lot of the data on here is what I would refer to as synthesized data, markup, or what Claude was calling. Well, you'll see it. I forgot what it said. Field notes or something like this. It was calling it. But anyway, so this is basically week 2 of telling the app, build me this thing. You know, and again, the use case for this is to kind of help manage scholarship applications and stuff like this. So you got a main page. This also has authentication, so over here, if I click on the user, again, this says test account. It has one of my personal emails on there, and then it's secured by Clerk, which is an authentication company that does authentication integrations, stuff like that. You can manage your account. If you sign up for it, it sends you the OTP, kind of passcode on there.
Yeah.
In this section right here, we've got a listing of, here it is, fixture is these are fake scholarships in here for the simple sake of me reviewing, how the GUI interface is looking and stuff like that. Still a little bit of work to do. I'd have to say this is still looking not so modern, but right now it's not my concern. It's getting to the part where I can actually start doing testing and stuff like that. And after I know it actually kind of fundamentally works, I'll go through securing it further, and then I'll go through a UI beautification process. But anyway, it did all this, the drop downs. I can, in progress, go like this. It auto filters down here. I can say, give me scholarships that have no URL. These are phone calls I have to make to a local, veterinary school or company, whatever. You know how some of these businesses just offer these little tiny scholarships and stuff. And so there's various filters on here, and then I should be able to look on here, and then let me see, home, town. Yeah, this is awesome. See, as I type it, it filters, which is that's a good feature on there. And then this one has information about the applicant, your child applying. Obviously, this is all test data on here, but this is the stuff in case you have a web page that has an application. The goal is to have this kind of help us just fill this out. And then It has an ingest feature right here, so I can, if I get my hands on a scholarship list, which there's a lot of different Reddit subs and different groups out there that basically collect scholarship lists and stuff, and then you can upload those, a CSV, or the last part, which is probably going to be a good bulk of the work once everything is working, is this discovery feature, which I'm tying into an LLM. And the goal here is start searching the web in different locations for scholarships that would be hard to find. Basically have it find them, ingest them, and pump them into our scholarship list. That way we can apply to them.
Okay.
So right over here, I can put in, let's see, Alaska. See if there's any scholarships over there. I think this is not working quite yet on here because I think it's still coming up with my test data over here. It always comes up with Coca-Cola. I think that's like one of the biggest scholarships that everybody and their grandparents apply to. Anyway, the statuses of what kind it is. I also have a feature on here to make sure that we don't, some scholarships are scams. So I have a feature on here to make sure I look for them.
Okay. Nice.
Anyway, this is all 100%. And I think it was last week I showed a simple website for my son's workout routine in the summer that I basically created. Now this is like an actual application on the web that can be used. And I can add these. I can click add to them, and then they would essentially add to my scholarship list on the left.
That's really cool.
Yeah, this is like basically the first step. Once we get these mechanics, then the harder part is the discovery, and then me testing out the application process to say, oh, this Coca-Cola one, how far can I get with it filling out? I think the goal for me is to get it to the point where my kids will have to basically work on the essay portion and customize, their baseline essays and narratives, and then just simply customize it. That's basically what I want, because some of these lists, like that list that I didn't ingest here, but has like 109 scholarships in there, something like this. And there's thousands of them on the web. So this is to kind of help that process out. So pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I'll stop sharing. I think that's all I have that, is shareable, that isn't like client-facing data. The other stuff I can talk about without kind of revealing clients is we work on deliveries with different clients, and one of our clients we're working with right now, we're just doing basic organization stuff. And one thing they needed help with is, we have all these outdated applications. They need to be upgraded. So I had a workshop with them. They're all using Claude Code now, and they accelerated the process to update all these applications that were running on outdated PHP. The next thing is to essentially organize like a UAT with the organization to test all the new applications with the new code. And then I basically used Claude Code to connect to a system that they're using for their backlog. And then Claude Code usually has like a lot of MCPs for the, think of like, what they call a API almost. And it had this. So I basically used Claude Code to configure the planning board and how we're going to track all 187 applications. And then if there's 5 steps to test an app, that's 187 times 5 worth of different tasks and subtasks and all this other stuff. Yeah, basically gave it, an Excel with all that data, and then have the MCP connector. And then I have it working in the background, essentially creating the board, populating the board with issues, and then formalizing everything, And that's just basically, could you imagine creating 187 different apps on either Jira, Monday.com, ClickUp, or one of these systems to track? That was like an intense kind of like, copy and paste scenario. Even if you're copying and pasting or trying to import out of Excel, it's a doozer. So it's doing it. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, that's really that is really cool. I'm still just amazed the way that you were able to really have it interact with the Monday.com and it set up the project plans, you interact the agents, and that's kind of really, that's super powerful. And then the I think when you mentioned Herms, it does the same thing via Telegram or Slack. So it actually becomes like a agent in Slack, but it's like super powerful because it can go do stuff in the background. Whereas, your normal agent, it's just a voice agent, doesn't do anything. So it's
Right.
really, it's really
Let me
cool the
show
way
you,
that
since we're
it's all
talking
coming
about,
through.
we're talking about Monday. Let me just show, because
Yeah.
so this is a view. This is that app I just showed. I basically have Claude that has a bona fide backlog with everything that we're working on, what's waiting for, built-in waiting, like the pre-filled rendering of the UI is still in progress. All this kind of stuff is essentially being updated all by Claude. And then in some cases, I go in here, I don't know if this is one of them or not. I would go in and approve something, and it would, tie back to the Claude code, and it would receive that to move on one of the items. So all this was 100% right here, all populated by Claude. So basically all I'm doing is orchestrating everything, and this is essentially what you want to have even at an enterprise. All these manual tasks that everybody was doing, just have all that automated, so now they can get to just leading instead of just 80% of their work typing on a keyboard, have them actually just lead and remove friction from projects, or just come up with good designs. And then we have a decision log, all that kind of stuff. So it's good stuff. Yeah.
This is amazing. I'll share something right now that I just launched off. Just kind of give people these creative ideas on how you use agents in a kind of for your business, for your team. So I know one of the things that people kind of is that it's interesting to people is how do you make these nice looking posts, or how do you make nice looking PDFs or proposals, things like that. So as you know, we connected our Claude team to certain agents that kind of go through all that logic, and then we send it over to Higgsfield, because Higgsfield, I can choose a bunch of different models, and we can generate a lot of this stuff that is kind of image based. So let me show you a perfect example. Let me share this screen over here, and it's kind of generating, but you can kind of see, because it's super helpful on seeing actual use cases. So let me share this. Hold on. I'll share entire screen. I'll start from the top.
Remind us what Higgsfield is again.
Higgsfield is basically your image generation. So Higgsfield basically aggregates a lot of different image and video generation tools. So a lot of people have probably heard of Veo, Nana Banana. You got Kling, and there's dozens of them. So Higgsfield is a platform that combines a lot of those, so you have access to all those different models, and it's all based on credits that you buy and whatnot. But you can move things around in different models, because for video, especially when it comes to video, certain models do certain things better. So if you're putting together kind of a really nice looking video, you might want to spread that across 3 or 4 different models, depending if you need an avatar to talk, if you need a scenic shot versus you need some action shot. So we use Higgsfield. I'm starting to do some of the video stuff. I haven't perfected it yet, but so I don't have anything to show there. But image wise, I do have some stuff that I can show everybody. So basically, this is our Agent OS. And this is basically one area within our whole operating system. So I just, Larry is our orchestrator. So I just asked Larry, I want an Instagram campaign. And then the minute I ask for an Instagram campaign, he's going to fire off some questions. Who or what is the Instagram campaign for? Who are you trying to deliver? And what is the primary goal? So I want a carousel post in a RevSpark brand, and I want engagement in the community. Then basically it sends it to Iris. Iris is our Instagram content strategist. So you can see all the different agents over here in the right that were kind of used, including our roster, and then some of the contacts and connectors. But basically it goes to Iris. She basically evaluates what we're looking for, asks me kind of what is the direction I want to take it. So I basically said, learning to shift to new agent way of doing work versus old corporate ways. You know, agents are learning doers that can take a lot of time consuming tasks away. A good before and after type of compare, or something that shows the value, quick tips to get started. Now, keep in mind, that we, you know this, Robert, but we fine tuned a lot of these agents to understand how we want to say things, and have given them a lot of context. So we got it down to where I could just give it a little paragraph like this. If I took the same paragraph and I put that into a new ChatGPT, I mean, anybody can do this. You could take it. It'll generate some good stuff, but it's going to be everything that everybody has already, or it's not going to be branded and whatnot. So just keep that in mind when you're seeing the results that we're getting. So basically, Iris goes and comes up with a campaign, gives me some details, basically gives me a content pillar, the format, the goal, gives me the angles, the hooks. So you can see that, here's the heroes. You're still working like it's 2019. So these are the hooks that it came up with. And then now it's going to give me the full post brief. So this is now giving me my first glimpse of what's going to be in this campaign. And now in here, it's kind of structured exactly what the campaign looks like and the layout notes. So now after that, it's going to go to Pixel. Pixel is the person that understands these layouts and now turns them into ready prompts that can go to Higgsfield, Nano Banana, wherever we send it. So
I think you want to zoom in on your text a little. I was just noticing it. It's in for you, it's probably big because you have probably a huge monitor. But for
let me see if I can just hit the zoom function. It's let's see if we can do this for everybody. Put it over here on a different screen. Turn it on. Let's see if I can get this to work. Sometimes this.
And this is the app, right? So that's why you can't even really tell it to make it bigger.
Yeah. Let me just try like 125% here. You know, typical Windows tool. It stinks. You know, like it's just, come on, guys. Like, you know, there's just some things that people like. Why can't I put in 125? It either goes to 100 or 200.
Right. There's no increment.
Well, here, I can deal with this for this is fine. This will work. Okay, so and I'll kind of go through this a little bit fast, but basically now it builds the Gemini image brief. So natively it's configured to go to Gemini and put these, but I have in the background logic. It can go to Canva to pull a template. It can go to Higgsfield, or it can go to Gemini, or it can do it natively like a PDF writer within Claude itself. But by default, it always is going to want to send stuff to Gemini. That's why it's called Gemini Image Brief. But basically, it puts in all the requirements, the colors, what it's going to look like, and then it's going to format the captions. And then basically it builds the briefs, and then it asks me what I want to do. Do I want to just, be brave and just, have the whole pipeline full run, or let's test one? So I asked, let's run the first post and see, and I told it we're going to use Higgsfield as the image generator. So now it goes into, looks up Higgsfield, it finds the certain SOL IDs that we've set up. Looks into the proper tool for image generation. In this case, it's going to pick Nano Banana. It's going to go check our credit balance, and here's the first image it created based on what we told it to do. So the old way versus agent way. Most teams are still grinding through work that agents can learn. And then here's another version of it. This is Instagram carousel slide 2. So it kind of gives us an idea of what it's going to look like. And then here's another one, and still kind of brand it. So just kind of giving you an idea of what it looks like. And it's
This is
still
fantastic because you're not even using, even with a Canva template, you still have to type, get the font in there, get it right,
Yep.
move it around, tweak it. This is basically essentially getting you there instantaneously as you go through. And like I was saying before, we could batch process this. So if you have a lot of these for content, you essentially set it. Like I said, with Claude Code, you could set a cron job if you blow through usage or something, and then just let it run overnight.
Yep. And now this particular task, I gave it creative liberty. So there's things I would change. I like to start here. I'm okay with this. Could look a little bit better. This one, it kind of did a weird thing, but okay, fine. But the idea is like when you get like a handful, say I get a dozen of these that I really like the formats and stuff, I would put that into a knowledge library, and I would just say, look at our knowledge library and find the one that best fits with the context that we're trying to do. And then you're going to get really refined results. Like I do have some templates and I do have some examples. If I ask for it, it'll produce exactly what we want every single time. And in that case, Robert, you're exactly right. I could fire off 100 of them. So basically it's kind of creating these, it's still generating a bunch, you can see. And then, it's asking for something from me. Okay. I'm going to take it off here so I can kind of see.
Right.
We'll allow that. That's fine. So now it's generating the rest of the carousels. So basically, I won't bore everybody with everything that is going to go through from there, but basically the next steps in the whole process, once it generates the images and they're exactly what I want, the really cool part is that then I hit package it up. So then it goes to a different agent. That agent packages all the carousels. So like everybody that knows Instagram and LinkedIn slide posts, you have to post them in a certain way and you have to rotate them through. There's kind of, it's kind of a pain if you're trying to do a big carousel. It takes care of that. So basically it packages it all up and puts it in the right format. And then what's really kind of a nice step is that all the images, it sends it to an image hosting company. That image hosting company, Cloudinary, sits there and takes all the images, hosts them. So then when we send the bulk loader to Instagram or to our social media loader, it just generates all the links. So now we feed it links and I'm not actually loading images to all the platforms. It's just generating the link and then populating the images with that. So it really takes a lot of the work out of manually putting all these things together. And this is just one little sub team in our whole Agent OS. So if you can imagine.
Right.
So, think about, if you're running your operations team or your PMO or your sales team, there's all these little processes where you need to produce an output. So if you're in a sales team and you want that weekly customer review, it's got to look a certain way. It's got to look at certain details. You could build an agent team probably within, we've been doing this for a while, so we could probably build it in 10 minutes. But, if you haven't been doing it, a couple hours, 3-4 hours and get yourself educated. There's going to be mistakes and you'll fine tune it. But, it's work that is worth it, because if you spend the 4 hours to put it together and every week it saves you 2 hours, your ROI is 3 weeks. So, I think one of the common things that I hear is like, oh, I just don't have enough time to build these agents. And in some cases that's true, but if you can find and block that 4 hours to save 2 hours every week, then you're going to gain 2 hours every single week that you didn't have. So, experiment. That's the key here. Just experiment and don't be limited by old school thinking that, oh, it can't do it. It's too complicated. Don't try to build the world. Build something simple, and you're going to get cool stuff like this.
Yeah, I love it. it's so handy, and just like you said, it's essentially enabling anybody to do a lot more things that you would either have to hand off, or your existing team can now do 5 times as much, or get to those projects and the backlog items that you never got to,
Yep.
that you're, oh, this has been hanging out here forever. Now you can get to this stuff. It's fantastic. So good, very
Yeah.
good demo, Brennan. Appreciate that. And then any questions? Just we're always here. So what do you have this weekend for you?
I think we have a bunch of family stuff going on. I think there's multiple family things, and trying to coordinate
Graduation
rides
system, or graduation season.
yes,
Yeah, my oldest is in 11th grade, and all the seniors that he knows, man, I'm just getting like hit. Get all these cards coming in from different, how they, I wonder if there's a gag where I can make one of the invites for next year. It looks like it's on a napkin that we just wrote on. You're invited. And,
Yeah.
But I don't think the wife would let me do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be going to with all those invites. You're gonna be going to party to party to party.
Yeah. I almost feel like sending out an infographic that it shows a circle with arrows where the grad goes to one party, gives money, and then that grad goes back to their party and gives them money back, and you're basically rotating the same money around this circle of grads. It's like, I'm gonna tell them I'm gonna keep track of these serial numbers on this money to see if I get anything back. It's the same thing.
Exactly. There's always like those if you have a big family, and there's ever like that kind of big family gathering, there always seems like, I don't know, maybe this is just in our family, but there always seems like there's one gift that somebody's like, oh yeah, and then sure enough, next year everybody kind of forgets about it, but a year or two later it'll show up as a gift again, and you
I
just
love
see
it.
like some of the, like, and I don't think it's intentional or anything. It's just like, oh, I'm going to that family party. What do I have that I can give as a gift? You open up, oh yeah, I never used this.
Right. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely gonna. And in fact, I just thought about that now. I'm gonna keep track of all these serial numbers. I'll probably make an AI agent for that. Every day I take pictures of the money I receive or give away, and here's your cash, and then see if they come back in circulation.
Yeah, that's going to be all good until the FBI knocks on your door. Robert, why are you tracking serial numbers on $100 bills?
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. A lot of people do that in general. Like they're looking for the numbers. I think it's 808 or 888. I think is a lucky string of numbers and sequences, and people like look for those. Like, so yeah, you can sell currency just because of you got a unique serial number on there. They also like sequences. So if you have a stack of 20s, it's better to have a sequence stack than a not sequence. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, interesting. Wow. All right.
Cool. Well, I think that's what we have. Next week we'll postpone. I have travel I have to do, so we won't be on. Although, more than happy if you want to do it. You can. I think I'll be on a airplane at that time, so I can't be on video.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So we'll probably not have one next week, but that'll give us a little bit extra time to prepare and see if we can come up with something special for the 1 week following.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds like a plan. All right, Brennan, we will chat again. Always a good time with you.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Robert. Thank you, everybody. Yep.